Racing fans, welcome back to the channel. I hope you are all well. And the weekend is just kicking off, but it's all already been a very hectic one if you think about the news with Frankie Dettori, John Gosden. So I'm just going to add my 20p to the situation. Not that anyone's asking for it, but here's my thoughts on the situation. So for those if you don't know, I think you probably would by now, Frankie Dettori and John Gosden have agreed to take a sabbatical, as John Gosden called it. What that means, I don't think anyone knows, to be totally honest. But first of all, does John Gosden have a point? I think he does, in fairness. I think Frankie Dettori's given some poor rides over, especially Royal Ascot. But for the past year or so, he's only ridden about 80 times in the UK, which, even though he always says he's saving his legs for the big occasion, I think you must lose just something when you're not riding as much as the other jockeys. I think he's only had 80, less than 100 rides for sure, but he's still had a pretty good strike rate of around about 20%. But you just think at Ascot there was a few horses which could have won, which didn't win. I think the main one is Stradivarius. I think I did have a bet on him that day, so maybe I was talking through my pocket a little bit, but I think Frankie Dettori gave that one a particularly poor ride. And if you think about what happened last year in the Ascot Gold Cup as well, he got trapped behind horses falling backwards through the pack, and he didn't get stuck by horses going backwards this time, but he got stuck in a pocket and then swung out wide when the widest of all to challenge, and just never got there in the end of the day. Whether he would have won if he got a clear run, to be honest, I think he would have. I don't think Kyprios was a world beater, and he only finished a length or two behind at the end of the day, and Kyprios had the perfect run under Ryan Moore. So I think afterwards, when Frankie Dettori kind of said the horse wouldn't have got their younger horses with fresher legs was just better on the day, I think he was kind of trying to cover for the fact that he gave it a pretty poor ride, and it's been back-to-back years where Stradivarius has had poor rides. He could have had another 2 Ascot Gold Cups. I think that's a perfect realistic ability for the horse. He could have won another 2, could have been a record breaker. Maybe he wouldn't have beaten Subjectivist the year before, but Kyprios was so beatable last year. So I think John Gosden has a point. There's been a few rides where Frankie Dettori should have and probably could have won on board the horse. But I don't think that's the only reason. I think Frankie Dettori is being made a little bit of a scapegoat by John Gosden. I think in years gone by, I think it was 2019, 2020, where John Gosden, Frankie Dettori absolutely mopped the floor with everything. When you think of Mishriff, Lord North, who are now not so good horses, they was winning everything. Stradivarius couldn't be beaten, and they had some very nice younger horses coming through. That's not really the case for the Newmarket stable anymore. They've had a below par season. I think John Gosden, I don't know. I think he's still a very good trainer, but I just don't think he simply has enough good horses anymore. Maybe there's a little bit of frustration about Charlie Appleby, Aidan O'Brien rising back to the top. John Gosden doesn't really have that many horses at the top level, or maybe it's a little bit of frustration built up from that as well, where he's just kind of passing the blame onto Frankie Dettori. Because if you think of some of the horses that got beat at Ascot, Reach for the Moon was sent off 2 to 5 and simply wasn't good enough against Claymore. That was nothing to do with the ride. He also blamed Saga, the horse in the handicap. I think Frankie Dettori gave that a great ride and just didn't get there. He was held up in last position, and he did win on Inspiral, albeit anyone could have won on Inspiral, but he definitely won there as well. And that was John Gosden's only very good horse at Ascot, to be totally honest. So I think the cracks have almost started to show, because there's a general decline in the stable. They don't have as many good horses as they used to do. So is Frankie Dettori being pushed as some sort of scapegoat? Who knows? Look, at the end of the day, John Gosden definitely does have a point, but I think he's kind of got away with acting like he has done to Frankie Dettori just because he's so eloquently spoken at the end of the day, taking a sabbatical. What does that mean? Nobody knows at the end of the day, but in my eyes, it's him saying you're done at the end of the day, because I don't think he's happy at all. Whether he's totally to blame, I'm not too sure. But let's not beat around the bush. I think Frankie Dettori, even if he does retire or just doesn't pick up as many good rides today, I think he's going to retire as probably one of the, if not the best flat jockey that's ever graced the game at all. So I think even though this isn't great for him, I think he's still going to retire as one of the, if not the best in the world. And John Gosden has said he's not looking at replacing Frankie Dettori as a stable jockey yet, and I'm just wondering who would get the job. There's been a lot of talk for Holly Doyle. I think Betfair are offering like 4 to 11 for Holly Doyle to become the next John Gosden stable jockey. And for me, Holly Doyle has only ridden 30 times for John Gosden and John and Thady Gosden combined. She's had 11 winners out of 30. She's profitable to a £1 level strike rate. But if John Gosden was a massive fan of Holly Doyle, then he'd be using her on all of his horses, not just the ones for Holly Doyle's retained rider. If you think of Nashwa, if Nashwa wasn't owned by the connections for Holly Doyle, which she's the retained rider for, would John Gosden be picking Holly Doyle? I don't think he would. I'm not sure Holly Doyle would be the right fit yet. Is she ready for a big job at John Gosden's? Who knows yet, to be honest. She's a fantastic jockey, but I think she still needs to get a little bit better. I mean, she's amazing from the front, but maybe her all-round game to be John Gosden's stable jockey, does she have to improve a bit? I think she might have to at the end of the day. Other possibilities, well, James Doyle, would that be something he'd want to do, be the first choice jockey for John Gosden? Well, he's booked on Sunrise Major today for John Gosden. It'd be interesting to see if they can get off to a winning start under the new era, essentially, without Frankie Dettori. But the question is, would you want to be second choice stable jockey for Charlie Appleby with the amount of horses he has? Obviously, James Doyle's never going to get first choice. It's always going to be William Buick unless he's out injured. Or would you want to be first choice for John Gosden? And if you asked James Doyle that question 5 years ago, it'd easily be John Gosden. But you think with the amount of horses Charlie Appleby has, he might even get more opportunities being the second rider behind William Buick for Godolphin and Charlie Appleby. Who knows at the end of the day? Is Benoit de la Serre ready to step up to be the first choice jockey? No, because obviously he can't claim in the group races, so he's not ready to step into them shoes yet. So it's going to be a vacant situation. I think he's going to be shopping around quite a bit. Colin Keane has been a name thrown out quite a bit. Now, he's definitely got enough ability to be the stable jockey, but would he leave Ireland? Because he's pretty much got a stronghold in Ireland at the minute. He had 4 winners yesterday. He's on Westover in the Irish Derby today, picked up a Group 3 yesterday as well. So you just think, why would he leave to John Gosden's uncertainty when he's pretty much ruling Ireland, when Aidan O'Brien and Ryan Moore, especially when Ryan Moore's in England, there's no jockey better than Colin Keane. So it's an interesting situation. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Has John Gosden done the right thing in removing Frankie Dettori, or has Frankie Dettori been harshly treated after so much winners over the years? Do let me know in the comments down below. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you next time.